Morning, everyone. Today is February 10th, 2026, and today is another live trading session. Once again, looking at the same three pairs that we always look at, which is NASDAQ, US 30, and gold. Today we had news at 7:30 this morning. We had core retail, which came out just slightly negative for the dollar. It's not really affecting all too much because the numbers didn't change that much. But if we look at our dollar, we know that the dollar's falling due to this news coming out is negative on at 7:30 this morning. We then have NASDAQ, which is the first pair that we're looking at for today. If we look at the sentiment for NASDAQ came out at just about 50-50 sentiment for today, which actually makes quite relative sense given that if we look at a higher time frame, like this hour, we can see the hourly has been in consolidation the entire night. We haven't made any moves to the upside or the downside. We've just been ranging in between this high and low that was created in the market. So as far as this goes, again, we'll just wait for a 5-minute setup and see if we can align with anything inside of here. But as of right now, it's not really looking like there's all too much going on other than that consolidation to the downside and the upside. We then have US 30, which is our next pair that we're looking at. US 30 came out as a bullish sentiment for today. And again, as we can see on a higher time frame, the hourly from yesterday was consolidating sideways after taking out liquidity. So if we drop down to a 15-minute, we know we had this 15-minute liquidity that was created on Friday. That's what the market tapped into yesterday at 8:45, and then we seen the market try and rally away from that to get to this break of structure, which was yesterday's high of the day. Currently, we are breaking through that high of the day with significant volume, and we are looking to continue to trade to the upside. Again, US 30 is at all-time highs right now, so now that we've broken this high, that was the major objective, to be broken. So we'll probably sit on our hands in terms of this because we know if this continues to go bullish, again, we can't really project where it's going to go. We just know if it's going to go bullish, it's just going to keep reaching higher. And then finally, we have gold. The gold sentiment for today, in 1 second, is commodities. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so gold sentiment for today is bullish as well. We look at a higher time frame from gold. We look at this hourly again from yesterday's price action. We know that we had rallied up yesterday with Monday's price action. We tried to take out this previous high of the week. We weren't able to do that. We had just missed it, and then we had pulled back yesterday in the afternoon session. We know we've been consolidating the entire night, even though we have been consolidating bullish. And like I said, our sentiment for today did come out as bullish. So once again, same exact premise as kind of what we're going to do on NASDAQ. We'll wait on the 5-minute and we'll see if any opportunities do present themselves. But as of right now, just looking at a 15-minute time frame, there's nothing really in here for us to take quite yet. But that is all the updates for right now, and I will continue to keep you guys updated throughout the session. Okay, just a little update of what's going on in the session. If we look at NASDAQ, we have an hourly fair value gap that was formed last week on Wednesday. This hourly fair value gap was tapped into yesterday, and it was re-tapped into today, and we are now seeing displacement to the downside after tapping into that fair value gap. We know that, again, low of the day and high of the day targets. Low of the day just got taken out with NASDAQ's price action, so the first objective of today is completed. If we look at a 15-minute perspective, we know we have this 15-minute fair value gap that's sitting inside of here. So depending on how this candle closes, we can see if we're able to align with something in order to continue to take shorts to the downside for today. For YM, US 30, again, US 30 still printing all-time highs. We are still just ranging, or not even ranging. We are still just driving higher and higher in price. We We had this 5-minute fair value gap that was created in the market at 8:30, but we saw price tried to pull back to it with the 8:40 candle and never got back to it, and now we see that it's starting to continue its rally. So again, as talked about at the beginning of the session, this is the pair we're really just going to leave alone today. And then we have gold. Gold, from a higher time frame perspective, from the hourly, again, that previous high of the week we would have expected to be taken, but it has tried to take it now 2 times and has failed to actually reach into that previous high of the week. So we are now looking at what price is going to do for the rest of the day. We have this low of the day here that was created at 1 a.m., which price is looking to drive into, but that would be basically our first objective to be looking at to the downside. But that is all of the updates for right now. Okay, so it is now 9:06, so I will give another update on what is happening in price. As we see on NASDAQ, it's not really doing anything. Again, from that higher time frame perspective, we know that we've been consolidating on the hour. On the 15-minute, we've also been consolidating. We saw today's market session had dropped down into this 15-minute liquidity pool, which is just a miniature fair value gap that was created with Monday's price action. And now, ever since tapping into that, we've been rallying bullish since then. But again, just looking at it from this higher time frame perspective, we know that there is no clean moves to the upside or the downside that we're ultimately looking at right now. And then, and there you go. There's high of the day that was just taken on NASDAQ. And as we can see, again, we moved 170 pips to the downside to start the session. And then we moved to the upside like 200 pips in order to finish this session off. And then we have US 30. So the next pair, again, US 30 doing the same exact thing I was talking about at the start of this session. I won't be taking anything on US 30 because, again, we opened bullish. We already opened at high or all-time highs. And then now we are displacing higher with no projections to be able to know where it's going to go next. And then finally, we have our gold. Gold, again, not really doing much either. If we look at a higher time frame, gold on the 1 hour has been consolidating since Monday. Gold on the 15-minute has also been consolidating since Monday. We do know that there has been a 15-minute fair value gap that was in the market at 8:45. We'll see what this current 15-minute candle wants to do, whether it wants to dig further into that fair value gap or if it wants to just keep consolidating sideways. But there isn't really much to align with in terms of that pricing. But that's basically everything that we're looking for today. It's really just a study day for the most part. Objectives, again, we've taken sell side and buy side objectives on NASDAQ. We've taken buy side objectives on US 30, and we've taken no objectives so far on gold. So that's the current update. Okay, so I'm taking a short here. Basically, premise of this trade, we look at the 5 minute. Again, like I've talked about, these low of the day and the sell side liquidity are the main two forms of liquidity I was looking at for today to be targeting on gold. It's now 9:32, and so with it being 9:32, again, I'm just aligned with the 1 minute fair value gap. So hopped out on a 1 minute. Seeing that this fair value gap presented itself here at the 9:29 candle, we've now stepped into that fair value gap, and we want to see displacement to the downside fairly quickly in order to deliver this by either 9:45 or by 10 o'clock. Again, we'll continue to see what this trade does, but my first liquid target will be these resting lows here, which is just the lows of the current session that we're in, and then after these resting lows, obviously the current low of the day that was created earlier this morning will be my ultimate target that I'm looking for. Okay, so trade management wise for this trade, since we did get in a little bit higher than what the entry protocol was, since I waited a little bit, if we do break this significant low here and then break liquid lows, then I don't mind breaking even on this trade and letting it do whatever it wants to do. We should have displacement lower though. Again, from a higher time frame all the way down to where we are now, we know that we were resting inside of this 5 minute. And all we have left is displacement and time in the session, being that we're waiting for, in 10 minutes, we have 9:45, which is the main displacement zone in order to bring us into a take profit. And then we also, like I was talking about in the previous, when I was talking previously, we also have 10 o'clock that's coming up, and that's also another zone for displacement. Also, what I was explaining a little bit earlier, gold gets a little tricky with alignment sake because of how it moves. Again, you'll see this price action on gold, and most people won't be able to align with it just because of the choppiness in it. What I say for gold is just patience. Like, patience always pays with gold. Making sure that you're trying to align in between those frequent time zones. So 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:30, so on and so forth. Again, we just broke our low. So with the break of that low, like I said, I'm going to move my stops to break even here. This just is going to preserve capital. So boom, stops are now moved to break even. We can't lose anything on this trade. We also know that we've already displaced. So again, all we're looking for now is the delivery to this low here. And then ultimately, we'll probably look at this low of the day to be delivered. But I'm perfectly okay with taking profits here at this low once we do get delivered, especially since, again, I can readjust my entry to where it is. So there's my entry protocol, and here should be the lows that get taken out in about a couple of minutes here. This is 4R, so let's just move this completely. Let's move this completely and confirm that. And yeah, now we're just, again, being patient. We know this low of the day is most likely going to get swept. Boom, there you go. I just got taken out. Perfect. And boom, straight through that entry, or straight through that take profit, straight to low of the day. So we secured 4% on this, being that we just targeted those lows. If we would have targeted the bottom, which was low of the day, that would have been 4.9%. But like I talked about, we don't want to be greedy. It's a Tuesday. We know that we won yesterday, so we're up 5% on the week so far with this 4% trade here, and then that 1% trade yesterday. But yeah, that was super, super, super clean. Again, one more breakdown, just because I know people have been just reiterating and harping on the fact that they're trying to understand these concepts. Let's just break this thing down from a top-down perspective one more time. So again, from a 15-minute perspective, we know we've had consolidation since Monday's pricing. Monday opens, Monday consolidates, okay? We get into today, we have an 8:30 candle that opens, and then we have a new candle that opens here. Again, if we take this off, we know that this candle at 8:45 to the downside created a fair value gap here at 8:45. So within that fair value gap, again, we know once we drop to the 5-minute time frame, that's our entry protocol. We know that all we're looking for is some form of displacement to the downside that would verify the conditions for us to be able to take out this low of the day. Since, again, that 15-minute fair value gap, which is this gray box, was already marked in the market. And so what do? We just waited for price to come down. We saw this 8:45 fair value gap. We saw it tapped into here. We saw it start to trade away. Once we started to trade away, I wanted to see some form of displacement to the downside, but we ultimately didn't get that. Price trades back into this 5-minute. And once we traded here, again, this is where that timing comes into play. Once we traded back into this fair value gap zone, we were going into the 930 candle. And so that's where I went down on my 1 minute time frame. And again, once we tapped into a higher time frame fair value gap, we are now just looking for lower time frame fair value gaps to align with in order to take us to our objective. And we know we had two main objectives today. One of those being low of the session, which is what was created with this 849 candle. And then the second objective is going to be the current low of the day, which was created back here at 1 o'clock a.m. today. And so that's exactly what happened. Again, that 929 candle creates a down close fair value gap. We waited for that fair value gap to form. We got in on the up close candle at 931, but I just waited a little bit because I knew, again, we could have got in straight up the fair value gap, but I wanted to see how it drove into this fair value gap and what type of momentum we were looking at. Again, we pulled all the way back into the fair value gap. We then had some exhaustion, which is where I entered off of with a stop loss above the candle high, and then take profits being, again, low of the session and then low of the day. And if we look at that from a higher time frame perspective, being that 5 and that 15, that's how cleanly price moved today, even with us being in this consolidation profile. But yeah, that's basically everything for today. And that concludes today's session. I will be back again on Thursday for another trading session.